Hello. So today we are going to um, discuss further the topic we discussed in our last class, which has to do with loop. In our last class, we said a loop is a structure in programming that lets us repeat a block of code repeatedly. We saw that in C, there is the for loop, the while loop, and the do while loop. And then we saw these scenarios in our class. Today, what I want us to do is to take some topics which have to do with the loop and solve them. And as we solve them, we see the manifestation and the usage of a loop. The first question, which would involve our attention, will involve us learning a simple question here. Um, Login attempt limiter. So the scenario is a bank app allows only 3 login attempts. What are we supposed to do? You're supposed to use a loop to write an application that would prompt a user of his PIN. And then once the user is prompted of his PIN, that user can log in and then provide his username and password for PIN. Now, we will break if the user is successful, but if the user is not successful and he does it 3 times, then we'll tell the user he failed his or her attempt. So this is what we are going to do. This is the first program. Indeed, to start my program, I'll open up my VS Code. And in here, I'll create my main.c. And then in here, after I create my main.c, let me just go here, go to settings, and increase my font to, let's say, 30. And then I'll come back here. I'll just collapse this. So in here, I'm going to write the following code. Include stdio. We've done this repeated. Again, I have my main, and then in here I have return 0. This is also done. Now, in here, I need to start writing my code. The first thing which I'm going to do is that I'm going to specify the PIN that the user is going to enter. Of course, a PIN is going to be digits, so I'll say it is an integer. The number of attempts in which the user is also going to do, I would set it to 0 because you haven't started, so you have 0 attempts. Also, the correct password of the user. So I'm going to say int correct or int correct PIN is equal to, let's say, 123. Well, so this is the correct PIN. Now, in here, I'm going to say also at the top here, I have the attempts. I'm just going to bring a comma and say the maximum is equal to 3. So that is the largest amount of attempts or maximum underscore attempts. Okay. So the idea from the question is that the person who uses the bank app, he has 3 attempts to log into his PIN. He logs into his PIN 3 times, and he can't continue, or he can't get it right. Then we'll tell him he has failed. It closes down. He can't log in again. Okay. So let's see how I'll put everything together. So while, and this is my loop. Remember, the while loop has the condition and the body. So this is its basic structure. So while the person's attempts is less than the maximum attempt, then we should continue doing what we are doing. So I'm going to say print F, enter your PIN. Simple. Then scanf. Remember, the end comes only when you are doing scanf. If you are doing printf, the end does not what come. And then I'm collecting the information and putting it inside PIN. And over here, I have if the PIN in which I've collected is equal to, remember, the double equal to sign is the comparison equal to. Only one is me saying put into this. But here, that is an assignment operator. But this is a relational operator which deals with comparison. So here I'm comparing the person's password or PIN in which they have entered with the correct PIN that is already in the system. And if it is the same, then I'm going to say printf, the user can log in successfully. And I'll bring the /n to move to a new one. Perfect. If it is not the case, then I'll tell the user that his PIN is incorrect. And then I'll say PIN, and then I'll bring a dot, I'll bring my /n, and then I'll do something very important over here. Something very important. I have to know that this is attempt 1. So I'm going to say the attempts should be equal to the attempts plus what? 1. So technically I'm saying, remember, when you have a scenario like this, you are doing what is on this hand side first. Then you put the answer here. So for a second, let's forget about this hand side and focus on this hand side. I'm saying the attempts. In this case, this is the first attempt. So here is 0 plus 1. So now I have done 1 attempt and I'll put it in attempts. You understand? So I'll do this side, get the answer, and come and put it on this side. Now, very importantly, as we have learned in class, instead of me writing this long line of code, I can just say attempts plus plus, and that is the same as me writing that whole state. Now, if for some reason okay, so let's run this and see what we get. So I ran this. Let me run it again. So it's telling me pin correct, pin incorrect. Okay, let me run it again. Uh-huh. So now it asks me, what is my pin? But let me just put this in and then clear the screen and start again. So enter your pin. Okay, I'm entering 3456. It is incorrect. 78 that. It is incorrect. That. It is still incorrect. Then nothing happens again. Okay. So here it doesn't make sense. My program tells me my pin is incorrect, tells me my pin is incorrect, tells me my pin is incorrect. But now it has stopped on its own. It didn't give me any feedback as to have done too many attempts or my account has been locked or anything like that. Again, it is not only about coding. You must mimic, you must think of the user. How would the user use your system? What feedback is he getting? If you were the one using the system and you did it 3 times, it has locked you out, but the system hasn't told you it has locked you out. So technically, you'll be looking for an opportunity to enter another pin so that you can take control of the application. You understand? So I'm going to clear my screen. I'm going to run the application again. Once I run the application, I'm going to enter a pin. It tells me it is incorrect. I'll enter the correct pin, and it tells me I am successful. Now, after it told me I am successful, it's not supposed to ask me for another pin again. I'm not supposed to type another pin again. So there are logical errors with my code. I don't have any syntactical errors. The structurally, for example, if I don't bring this semicolon here, my program will not run to tell me I have an error somewhere and all of those things. That is not what this is about. What this is about is that logically, my code is not doing what I expect the user experience to be. So to solve that, over here, I'm going to say return 0. Now, me putting return 0 here means that when the code gets to this point here, stop everything. Everything stops when you get there. Also, after the while, because it will do it 3 times, and after the third time, the while statement will stop. So after the while, I'll come here and print this out. But before then, let's see. Let's just for educational purpose, let me run the code again. Let me clear my screen and run the program again. And here I have enter pin. I entered the wrong pin. At this stage, I have done the enter the pin once. So remember, over here, we said attempts is 0. So it's attempts lesser than maximum attempts. Yes, it is. 0 is less than 3. Because maximum attempts, we said it is containing 3. So 0 is less than 3. So if I enter here and I get a wrong pin, I come into this section here, which increases the value in which I have by 1. Once the value is increased by 1, I will get to the end of my loop. And of course, to exit the loop, I have to check my condition again. So attempts is now 1, maximum attempt is still 3, 1 is less than 3, hence I'll enter here again. And when I enter here again, I enter another incorrect pin. So I scroll down to the bottom. I am here. It shows me the incorrect pin, which is supposed to do its job. Go to a new line, which does its job. And here I increase it by 1. Once it increases by 1 again, now attempts is now 2. So I scroll to the top over here. And then in here, I have attempts here being 2. Is 2 less than attempts? Yes, it is. So I've done it twice. I enter the third one. It is wrong. So I come back in here to increase it to 3. When I come over here, it asks me the question, is 3 less than 3? Since the answer is no, then I am out of the loop. So you can see it does it 3 times, and logically, I'll only do it 3 times. So I wanted to do it 10 times. It means that I will have to change the number of attempts here from 3 to 10, something like that. But at the end of the day, when it gets to the end, we want to tell the user that at this point in time, you have done too many failed attempts. Therefore, your account is or account locked. Full stop /n. Very simple. Now, once we do this, we can scroll to the top of our code and we can save our work by pressing Ctrl S and run our code again. Our code asks us to enter the pin. Note something very odd. If I enter the pin, the correct pin, and I click, it says login successful. It doesn't show me anything again. And it doesn't show me everything again because I told the code that after you have said login successful, I am done. Everything is done. Log it off. Stop it. All other code doesn't matter. Save everything and make it a value of 0 and stop. Now, if that is, this will happen the moment I get into the login. For example, if I clear my screen and then I click here, let's say hypothetically, did I delete something when I went back? No. Let's say hypothetically, I enter 6666. I said, oh, I've forgotten my PIN. Oh, what was my PIN? Oh, no, no. That's all. I remember it is this. Again, the program will stop. It wouldn't bring the next one. So you can see all logical errors have been taken care of. If I run the program for the last time, I enter a wrong pin, a wrong pin, and a wrong pin. By the time I enter the last one, it tells me too many attempts, account locked. So the user knows that there is no attempt coming again for him or her to use. Again, this presents us with the application that would help us to check if we have made too many attempts to our pin or not. And I've written it in C. Let's see another application and see how we would implement that. So we have another scenario. The scenario is this. But here we have another scenario. And the scenario says that calculate the overdue fines for a book in a library return system. So here I'm building a library return system. So if I go to the library and I want to return a book, I can use the library return system to return the book in which I have borrowed. Now, in the system, they said that if I don't return the book in the first 7 days, I pay 0.5. If I don't return it on the first 8 to 14 days, I pay $1. And beyond 14 days, I pay $2. Okay. Now, what is my task? Use a loop to input the days overdue until the user enters -1. For each loop, calculate the fine used. Calculate the fine using a nested if. Okay, that's fine. So this is what I'm supposed to do. Just that I'll just give you a second to digest it. Remember, we have to break it down. We have to analyze it to know what we have to do, what we don't have to do, and then we just write our code. Also remember, the moment in which they tell you they want you to, okay, here line, they said they want you to use a loop, but ideally they want you to do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It means you have to use a while or a for or some structure like that to control the statement in which you are doing. Let's see how we will write our code. So I would remove all of this just so that you can see what I do. Remember, um, as much as you would want to write your own code and code your own way, there are certain standards in which you must meet in your professional life. So there are some standards in which you must meet in your professional life. Mhm. So let's see them. Again, I will start by writing include. And after I write include, I will also go on to write my STO, STDIO. Remember, it's a standard input output library. And then in here, I can start writing whatever coding which I want. But whatever coding which I want will always be in the main function. So I'll have int main, and the main function will always return a value that is of data type integer. So I'm returning 0. Then I can code in here. I have int days because I need the days in which the individual borrowed the book. And I have float fine to show how much money that individual is supposed to what? Pay. Over here, I have an error. Why do I have an error? Because I wrote a statement over here that I didn't bring a semicolon. Again, whenever you have an error or a mistake, your mind should go to the fundamentals. Every statement ends with a semicolon. Is it written in capital letters or small letters? Things like that. Now, I have to write a loop. So I'll say while 1. I should do all the elements over here. Now, is while 1 a correct piece of code? Yes, it is. Because in coding, we equate 1 to true and 0 to false. So I'm technically saying, whilst everything is true, just continue doing what you are doing. And in doing so, I'm going to say print F and tell the user to enter the days overdue. Now, to bracket -1 to exit. And over here, I'll bring a semicolon and a space and a terminate over here. Now in here, I'm going to say scanf into bracket the percentage format, comma, the end symbol, and then I'm going to have days over here, ending with this. Great. Now, here, I'm going to say if the days in which the person wants is -1. And remember, we said if the date is -1, the whole application should stop. The whole loop should stop. So for me to stop the whole loop, not the whole application. In the first question, we saw that when we use return, it stops the whole application. But I want to stop the loop itself, just the loop. I will use the word break. Now, if that is not the case, remember, this piece of code here would only go to break if the user enters -1. So it means that if I am at this point in line 15, it means the user did not enter -1. He entered a value. So if the day is less than or equal to 7, then this individual has to pay a fine which is equal to the days times 0.5. Perfect. I'm done with that. Now, again, else, if the days the person has borrowed the book is less than 12 days, 14 days, then this individual has to pay 7 times 0.1 for the first 7 days, and then he has to pay, sorry, plus the days minus the 7 days times 1. So it is here in which someone would raise a red flag or say, I don't understand. Here's supposed to be fine, not found. It's fine, fine. Sorry. Here's where someone will raise a red flag. I don't understand this side. Why are you doing 7 times 0.5? And then days, okay. So if you go and borrow a book from here, they said if you borrow a book from the library, the first 7 days you borrow the book, over the time in which you were supposed to return the book, you pay 0.5 for those first 7 days alone. So over here, it is the days times this. That's the first one. For the second one, they are saying that you pay 0.5 for the first 7 days. Now, let's say you went to borrow the book for 12 days. So the first 7 days out of 12 is here. And then the rest of the days is 5 days. That means the $1, you are paying it on the 5 days, not the entire 12 days. So over here, this takes care of the first week, that is 7 days. And then I'll take the days you have and subtract 7 from it so that I get the next days in which you have not paid. And then I would multiply whatever I get when I subtract by 1. So in here is 7 times this, and here will be 5 times 1. And that is how the calculation is done. Remember, in the question, they told you the first 7 days, then the subsequent 8 to this same date. Now, beyond 14 days, this is what you will pay. Okay? So, technically, else, this person will pay a fine of 7 times this. He will also pay a fine of 7 times 1. And you also pay another fine of the number of days minus 14 days being taken out. And then you pay $2. So at this stage of my code, I know how much the person is supposed to pay in a fine, which is the total fine is given by percentage dot 2f slash n. And then I'll bring my comma here because I have to fill the spot in which I have this percentage format here. And this percentage format is given by what? Fine. Remember, the N sign only comes when you are doing scanf. If you are displaying, it doesn't come. Now, at this stage, you are still in the loop. When we are out of the loop, then we have to tell the individual that the program has exited. Quite nicely. I save my work. I click on play. The code runs. It compiles, does its job. It's scattered a bit. So you let me close all the terminals and start a new terminal. My code compiles. And it asks me, how many days overdue? Oh, the person did 21 days overdue. So he's paying this amount of money. The person did 7 days overdue. So he's paying this amount of money. The person did this days overdue. So the person is paying this amount of money. The person paid that days overdue. So the person is paying this amount of money. Now, the moment I say the person is -1, then it means the program has what? Exited. So remember, while one, so this program will run till Jesus Christ comes and then takes over. And even after that, it's still running. How do I stop it? Because I can't have a loop which runs forever. I am stopping it using the break. I'm using break to stop it, to exit it. Let's have another question. Or let's see another scenario. Now, in this scenario, I am going to write a program that would adjust the AC in a room. So I'm writing a smart control application. Now, what does this program do? You would use a do while to keep adjusting temperature. Break when within the desired range. Use if to suggest decrease or increase. So how will I write a program of this nature? So let's begin. I have my structure. I'll write my code in my structure. I'll say int, what is the current underscore temperature? I'll ask a question. And remember, if I want to ask a question, I'll use the printf. So what is the current room temperature? And then here I would say scanf percentage D. Then in here, I'll take in what the current temperature is. But remember, I need the end sign and then the current temperature. Okay, so do, because the question said we should use the do while. So do, and remember the do while, there is always the while statement. And in here, I have the condition, and the do while statements end with a semicolon. So in here, let me start with the do. I'm going to say if the current temperature is beneath the targeted temperature, minus the tolerance, then I should print I should print F temperature too low, increase AC temperature. Okay, now the targeted temperature, I will have to define over here as 22. And then the tolerance, I have to define here as 2. Therefore, I'm saying if the current temperature is smaller than 22 minus 2, then the temperature is too low. Therefore, I will have to increase my current temperature by 1. Else, if my current temperature plus the tolerance, it means my temperature is too high. Hence, I will have to decrease my AC temperature. So here to be minus minus instead of plus plus. Now, after this is done, then I can say printf current temperature semicolon percentage sign d slash n comma current temperature. Every statement ends with a semicolon. Now in here in the while, I'm going to check if the current temperature is smaller than the targeted temperature minus the tolerance, or the current temperature is greater than, sorry, here it's supposed to be greater than, is greater than the targeted temperature plus the tolerance. And then I'll end with semicolon. Now, outside of the loop, when everything is done, I'll say printf temperature is within the desired range. Full stop. AC adjustment complete. For example, let's say you are home and you have an AC. There are days in which you have said that, okay, when the temperature outside is this degree, then the AC should be this. When the temperature outside is this degree, then the AC can be that. Or when the temperature is that, then the AC should be that. So here I have given the tolerance, okay? I've also given my targeted temperature for the AC itself to automatically come up with a particular reading of temperature that will be suitable for me. Now, if I run the application, let me type something here like the temperature in the room at that moment, let's say it is 42. It's very hot. So you can see that the AC itself would decrease my temperature. So it will decrease it, 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 until I get a temperature which is desired for me, which is 24, based on the parameters in which I have used. and then set that as my temperature. Now, there are times when your loop will not only be a single thing. Will not only be a single thing. For example, over here, I have a loop for int a being equal to 0, a being less than 10, a plus plus. In here, I'm going to say printf a, and then, or better, so let me do this, double quote, percentage sign, a slash n, comma, a. Perfect. Python. Let's say Python. C. So now I'm going to run this code. I run this code and I can see gibberish on my screen. I think it needs time to compile and run well. So, oh, I'm seeing gibberish on my screen. Let's see what I did. So here I have percentage sign. Oh, here it's supposed to be percentage D. Sorry. So let me clear my screen, run my code again, and then I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I don't want the 0 to come. So here I'll change it to 1. And then I want it to go till it gets to 10. So I'll make this is equal to 10. When I run it again, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, there are times when instead of you doing that, you can say from A till you get to J. And then in here, instead of me saying int, this will change to a char. That means the symbol I'll use here will no more be a D, but a C. So now I'm displaying characters. And oh, for characters, it is a single quote, not a double quote. Let me get that right. Perfect. So now I run my code again. And I'm getting A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Remember, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So J is number 10. Now, with that in mind, this for loop here has a control. It has a control. It controls how things are being displayed in a particular order. In this for loop, I can do another for loop inside it, which means that this for loop I'm doing is nested in the big one. So in here, I'm going to say int n is equal to that, n being less than or equal to 10, n plus plus. And then in here, I'm going to print again, and I'm going to print B this time because I'm printing I'm printing an integer. And then instead of me going to a new line, I'll just give a bit of a space after the integer is printed out. And then I'll run my code. And on my screen, what am I seeing? I'm seeing A012, but it's not coming the way I want it because I didn't put the gap in the location in which it should be. So let me put it in the location in which it should be. So over here, I'm going to say print, and all I am printing is a new line. And I'm going to run my code again. So now, oh, sorry. Do I need 1 second? There's an order I want, and I'm not getting that order. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know why I'm not getting that order. So this line here at the top here has to go away. Perfect. And let me give a gap here. So I run it. So I have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. And we can see that going in this direction too, I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The outer loop, that is this loop here, controls the direction this way, in the vertical direction. And we have the inner loop controlling the horizontal direction, that is this way. So for example, if I wanted to not display this anymore, I would need this to move to a new line. So just so that we go over, it means you start your loop, you display A, you go into the inner loop, you display 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When you get to 10, you are done. You come and go to a new line. So when you get to a new line, you go back to the top here and move to B, because remember, there are two loops. So you must finish this loop before you go to the total loop to finish. That is why on your screen, you can see that with each turn, you have A, B, C, like a 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 10. Then you come here and you have B. That means these are all being done in B's 10, then C's 10, so on and so forth. I don't need this anymore. I definitely don't need this anymore. And then over here, instead of me displaying N, I won't be displaying N anymore. Oh, I need this one, but I don't need this one. And then here, I'm going to put in star, and then I'm going to take this out. And then when I run this on my screen, I should see star, 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 star being appearing like this. Now, I can start to manipulate the stars, whereby I can say, instead of you going to 10, go till you hit A. And if I do that and I run my code again, now I have this junky pattern over here showing for me, which is not the pattern in which I'm looking for. So let's start it again. Oh, I can't do it going to A because here's a character, here's an integer. The first one to display it forward went. But over here, let me make everything integers. So here I can do it int. By the way, I did the character so you can see that you can also add with characters. You don't always have to add with integers. Of course, integers is far easier to control and so everything, but you can do the same to characters. Now here, let me maintain the A, but let me just change this into 1. Let me just change this J into 10 so I have integers all around again. And now when I run this, my code shows me a star-related pattern like this. Okay, so I can do a star-related pattern going this way, I can do it going that way. And you see that your ability to manipulate these kind of data structures helps you deal with arrays, which helps you deal with matrices, which would help you when you're doing machine learning and you have to do the mathematics over there, which deals with vectors and matrices to learn what you're doing. So with us doing this, the next time we would meet in class, our class is all about arrays. What are arrays? How do we put things in arrays? How do we do array computations? And so on and so forth. Thank you.